Hello everyone, welcome back. Okay, pretty much at the start of a new diagonal today. Moving right along here. Trying to decide, the colors kind of go more, a bit more almost vertical across my pattern, so I have to sort of go over to the left more and work my way back up to keep from closing in stitches, because as always, try to do stitches that are to the left and above before doing the stitches that are below and to the right to keep from closing things in. So sometimes my strategies change depending on that. I had one part in this pattern I've already done where it's big stone pillars on the edges, so the colors went almost completely vertical, so there was quite a lot of more column style stitching than a diagonal style. I just do what makes the most sense to me at the time. Follow the direction of the colors and adapt as necessary. All right, so now going back up again, I can do all of these stitches because, make sure I grab the correct thread, because they are all, again, not going to close anything else in. All leftmost, cornermost as usual. I think this is like a tree trunk, this bit I'm stitching now, so that's why it's more of a vertical direction. To color in that top one because I will be parking it and doing that other one below it later after I filled in the stitches to the left and above. So it looks like it's going to be a kind of a mix of confetti and some larger chunks of color. Kind of like that. It breaks up the monotony of too many of the same color and the frustration of confetti and having to change a lot of colors all the time. Nice kind of happy middle ground there. Okay. Nope. That was just not going to happen without trimming. I can see. Okay, I'm actually going to do these two that are vertical and then park it over to the right. Sometimes I will just do that top stitch and then park it for 2 in a row beneath. Just depends on how it works out, and sometimes just my mood, how I feel at the time. Okay. So it is another very, very cold day today here where I live. Extreme wind chill down to -42. Yuck. And then tomorrow it's supposed to be above freezing. It's just wild. They say it's Canada, the only place you can get a sunburn and frostbite in the same week. Ooh. I don't know about the only place, but yeah, that's certainly an issue here. You can be wearing shorts one day and your winter coat the next. Ugh. I say our temperatures jump around more than the stock market. Ugh. And another one I'm going to do those vertically, because then I can do all of those number 9 symbol stitches that are kind of around these two. Oh, pardon me. These 2 peach ones. Oh, I was digging around in my cupboard and got one that I don't use very often. I got a face full of dust, so my apologies in advance if I'm sneezing a fair bit. Dust and I do not agree. Do not get along very well. Gave myself a rinse out with my neti pot, but that doesn't always do the trick. I think I don't have much more of this color in this. No, too far to park, so I will end off and restart later. Oh dear, look at that. Need to go sharpen my scissors, I think. They're getting a little dull. A little trick someone told me is to actually cut through some aluminum foil with your scissors. Can sharpen them back up if you don't have a sharpening stone. So I'm going to try that, see if it works. I haven't actually done it myself yet. So take that advice with a grain of salt, hey? Okay, and back to this peach color. Okay, let's see, I have another this. Yeah, they're both about the same. So after I do these 2, I'll see if it's worth parking it over to the right there or not. I think I will, though. It's still within that next big square of 100. It's still within 1 inch is generally how far I like to carry. 2 from this grid line, 5 from that bottom grid line. Perfect. Okay. So now I'm going to do some of this. So there's only a little piece here. Probably just enough to do, yeah, these 3 that I've highlighted. Oh, caught the thread on my finger on the other side, so I accidentally unthreaded. Pardon me. Okay. There we go. So back on the sky here. Nope. After a while, my needles become magnetized from so much contact with magnets. Sometimes when you grab one, another one sticks to it. I remember doing that little science experiment when we were kids, when we were trying to magnetize it and couldn't seem to do it. But now when I'm not trying to, now it works. Because of course, right? Always the way. There we are. Okay. This is a bigger block, but it does have some other colors scattered, some other stitches scattered through it. That sort of breaks things up for us. And I think we will be having just enough to do those stitches and end off this thread, and then I will be starting a new one up sort of more at the top of this diagonal for this color, for more of this color. So yeah, like I said, I kind of do some of the bigger section, and then I'm going to go down to the left and do some more of these other threads here. Sort of breaks up the monotony of either too many colors or too many of one color, especially with the too many of one color. As I mentioned before, I have to be careful not to give myself a repetitive stress injury, as I have done that before. So changing up colors gives my muscles enough of a break of doing the exact same motion over and over. Kind of can remind me sometimes to stop and stretch, so that things don't tighten up and get painful. So those are done. There we are. So yeah, I could carry on with this color and start up back here and do these ones, but I am instead going to go over to the left and do some of these other colors and then come back to that big block of light pink. Then I don't get bored. Yeah, I have a few that have a lot of black background. So I know those are going to be a slog to get through. I have seen people, instead of stitching all that black, they instead stitch on black fabric, but I don't think my eyes would like that. I have yet to attempt a darker colored fabric. The darkest I did was sort of a oatmeal color. Still pretty light, easier to see. Which is partly why I like to work on 14 count. The smallest I've done is 18 count. I'm really impressed on people who do the really small counts. It looks absolutely amazing, but I don't have the patience for that, or wanting to use magnifiers. I admire people's dedication to doing that. Of course, then I'm sure some people probably look at my projects and say, I don't want to deal with a piece of fabric that huge. So, different strokes and all that. Okay. Still sort of working from the left out over to the right. This should be enough to do that one last stitch before we have to tie off here. I'm going to tack it down. So doing a pin stitch where I'm going to be using this again. I definitely don't have to worry about it blending in because it will be covered by the same color. Okay. It's these ones. And then we'll do some of that bunch in a row of that pink. All right. Got a few little pieces left, but this is a big area, so we're going to need longer pieces. And I'm going to kind of feather this right edge, so not always going exactly on the diagonal. Sometime I'll go one stitch, I'll go the exact same length, then one stitch shy, then 2 stitches shy, then just one again, kind of randomly doing that. So I'm still not closing in stitches, but I'm also still feathering that edge. It's not a precisely straight line, just in case. So this one I decided I'm going to park it directly below. Or actually, I don't need to park it then in that case. Of course, I can just do another row directly below it. Then I'm going to park one stitch shy, and then I'll see what I'm going to do on the next row. So you could always feather your line by extending it a stitch or two in either direction. That works as well. It is up to you. I have done that as well, even though it technically does close in a stitch or two. I'm not that strict with my guidelines. Too many rules, and I'm not finding it fun anymore. I don't want my hobby to feel like a chore. There are already enough chores in life, right? Okay, so I've parked that. Oh, no. Okay, I'm gonna try again. Yes, there we go. Otherwise, it would have just highlighted that instead of parking it. Okay, so this one doesn't have any other stitches close enough, so we're going to end off this color, as there is nowhere nearby to park it. The closest stitch that is nearby already has a thread parked right there. Okay, 37, 17. Put those pieces away, and then, okay, we're back to this light pink. So I'll do a few rows of this, and then I'm going to go back over to the left, do some other colors, then come back. Oh, did I leave a loop? Oh, yes I did. There we go. It almost wanted to knot on me. Kind of just every now and then I run my fingers along the back of the area I'm working just to make sure if there are any knots I can catch them and correct them quickly. I've had a few where the knots were really bad. I had to cut it out and unravel some and redo it because that knot on the back was just annoying me so badly, and I wouldn't want it to leave a lump when it's being mounted. Okay, so I'm going to go 2 shy of this last row, so right there. So like I said, just kind of naturally, oh, is a fluffy coming up there. That's from one of the pin stitches finishes. Sometimes it grabs the fuzzy bit of the end, just making sure there's no knot here. Oh, I spoke too soon. There is a knot. Okay, I will have to pick back until I find it. There it is right there, I think. Yep, there it is. See if I can get it there. I think we got it. I'm just gonna peek back here again and double check that we actually freed the knot. No, we did. Are you going to be a big pain on me? Or are you going to cooperate? Oh, we have to pick back a wee bit further, I think. It's still being stubborn, yet the knot must have formed a few stitches back, probably on the bottom legs of this section. I was thinking. So let me just take a look again. Yes, it was on the bottom legs. There we go. So yeah, like I said, just sort of feeling for any problems and trying to catch them before they become bigger problems. Ah, yes. See that shredded a bit. There we go. Okay, except now that I'm thinking, no, that's good. Okay. Just double counting that I'm doing that correctly. Okay, so I did 2 stitches shy of the previous row, so I'm going to do 1 stitch less than the previous row this time. So like that. And then we will park this because the following row, there is 1 stitch of a different color along that left edge, and I don't want to close it in, as usual. And I'm going to go 1 stitch less again. So it's just random. So yeah, I had some errands to run today, but it's so cold that I decided I can wait. It's supposed to warm up tomorrow, so I will wait until then. I don't need anything that critical. Yeah, sometimes you decide when to gas up your car based on the weather forecast. Sometimes I've still got half a tank left, but I know the temperature is going to plummet in the next few days, and I don't want to be pumping gas when it's absolutely freezing out there, so I fill it up a bit early. Because when you live in a place where you don't have extreme weather, you don't have to consider these things. But here you definitely do. There we go. So yes, we are back to that tree trunk. think this may be the last stitch I'm going to get out of this. Don't know. No, you know what? I'm going to be able to get one more, which is perfect. Exactly what I was hoping for. Okay, so again I have multiple threads of this color. That's how long that one is. And this one is about the same length. I unthreaded it. It's not much more. So I'm going to do this stitch and tie this one off. Yeah. If it was much, much longer, then I would park it and carry on, but it's not really worth it. Yeah, still a lot of stitches in this color to go in this pattern. I actually invested in a couple of cones from DMC because they're like over 230 hanks worth, skins worth. So yeah, and I got it during like a 25% off sale, so it was worth it. So now I have enough 310 to last me a lifetime and enough 3371. Oddly though, they don't make 939 on a cone. I don't know why. It's a very popular color, but nobody has it, even straight from DMC. I don't know why. So I actually had a pattern that the background was going to be all 939. I ended up changing it to black 310 because it's so close. It doesn't really change the whole picture itself. And yeah, that way I could get a cone of floss. So those were a birthday present to myself one year. Huge cones of floss. And they're exactly like, pardon, they're exactly like the little ones that you can buy. There's no difference. It's just on a cone, and it's nice. Then you never have to worry about potential dye lot issues. It's definitely all going to be the exact same dye lot. So that's nice. There was one company I found that sold smaller cones, which worked out to about 40 skins, but then when I did the math, it really didn't save you any money, so yeah, it didn't seem much of a point in investing in that. And they didn't have 939 either. Go figure. They had almost every other color, but they didn't have that one. I don't know why. Okay, I'm going to go back to the pink again soon. Oopsie. So yeah, because I have less confetti here, I've been able to make more progress than I usually do. Pardon me. So that is one nice thing about bigger blocks of color. You can get a lot of stitches done in a shorter amount of time. Come on. Ah, gotcha. Ooh. That other stitch above this one was just starting to loosen up a little bit, so I just gently tugged on that part thread there and snugged it back up again. Okay. And that's pretty much the next diagonal. So I'm going to tuck that away. That one is not. Yeah, just wanted to come with it. Okay, I can see how long this piece is. So, yeah, I think it was only going to last me for one more little row. We shall see. There we go. I'm going to go one stitch shy again. Right here, because then I'm going to be doing these other ones in the next diagonal, and it's going to just kind of connect nicely there. So that can kind of just affect exactly where I decide to go when feathering my edge. Sometimes just leave it so there's a nice sort of little clear stair-step path that is easy to follow for the next diagonal. I think I will get more of this than I expected. That's always nice. Yep. Do two more, and I think even the three below it. And then we will need a small piece if I have one for that. Those other ones, once I do the stuff to the left of them to keep them from being closed in, yes. Yep, that will work out nicely. So I have another tutorial about how I did larger blocks of color. It's my diagonal parking tutorial number 4. If you are curious to see further how I did that, you can look that up. It's in my cross-stitch tutorials, tips, and tricks playlist. So. Okay. Okay, so back over, pardon me. So I could do these 3 stitches here, but then I'd have to park it for that one. So I'm probably going to wait till I do all the stitches that are in the next row to the left of it so that I can do these 3 in this one all at once. Okay, so a new color, 3, 3, 4, 6. So as we get further along this diagonal, I'm going to have more confetti. Then when I come to the back, I'm going to have more to the top for the next one. I'm going to have more bigger blocks. Keeps things interesting. I often save the really big blocks of background that have almost nothing to break them up. Save those for travel or visits. Not that I'm doing much of those right now. Yeah, I have not traveled anywhere in a couple of years now, or visited much. I've been lucky. I'm a homebody, so it hasn't been as hard on me as it might be for some people, I'm sure. Okay, so if I didn't have any short little pieces, I would have just started a longer piece, done this one here in the corner, and then parked it over into the next square, as that's not too far to carry. But since I had a nice little short piece here, that will work perfectly for this one stitch all by itself of this color. A lot of color changes here, so this section is going to slow me down a little bit. That's okay. It's not a race. I remember in knitting circles, they would say, are you a product knitter or a process knitter? And I'd say I was more of a process one. That's why you'd end up with projects that were almost done except for sewing the buttons on, and it would never get done. I mean, I do like the finished products, of course, but the process is really my favorite part of the pattern, or of the hobby, I should say. In fact, with knitting, I learned a lot of ways to make things in one piece, even sweaters, as seamless as possible. That way, they actually got finished since there was very little sewing and such to do at the end. I remember especially when my son was really little, I made this little baby sweater, and it was in pieces, and the pieces were so small that it took me maybe 2 days to knit all the pieces, but it took me, almost a week to sew them all together. It was so many seams. So yeah, I searched out ways that you can make stuff in one piece. I really like, if you are a knitter, I really recommend Barbara G. Walker's books, especially her book, Knitting from the Top Down. It's amazing ways that you can knit sweaters with set-in sleeves that do not need to be sewn in later. It's all with increases and picking up stitches along edges, and like magic. It looks like it has seams, but it doesn't. It's really cool. So, however, knitting was giving me more hand pain than cross stitching, so I haven't been doing it as much. I mostly do it for when I want to do something where I don't really have to look at what my hands are doing. I can do it mostly by feel, so knitting generally gets done when I'm watching figure skating. I don't watch sports except for figure skating, which I absolutely love and follow pretty religiously. Okay, yeah, I'm going to do a different thread for those other ones. Hard to believe there'll be the Olympics coming up again. Must be getting older. I feel like it just finished, the Winter Olympics, but obviously it's been 4 years. And yeah, Yuzuru Hanyu, the reigning Olympic gold champion, has 2 back-to-back golds, and he's going back to attempt a 3rd. So that'll be interesting. And I actually saw, I don't know if he's going to attempt it in the Olympics, but I saw some clips on YouTube of him doing a quadruple axel, which nobody else in the world does. And the ending wasn't perfect. The landing was not perfect. He was 2-footed, but still, I mean, that guy doesn't need to prove anything. He set so many world records, and he still keeps pushing himself. Because, yeah, an axel's the only jump that goes off forward, so it's actually an extra half a revolution. So that's 4.5 revolutions. It's amazing. I've been watching the sport so long. I remember when a triple double combination was even a big deal. Now guys are doing quadruple triple combinations. It's just unbelievable. I'm wondering if they're going to start doing 5 revolution jumps. I mean, I always said it wasn't physically possible, but I didn't think quadruple edge jumps without the toe assist were possible either. And guys are doing quad lutzes all the time now, so we'll see. It's pretty interesting to watch. Of course, Nathan Chen is there to challenge Yuzuru Hanyu. Last Olympics, he won the free skate, and if he had done well in the short program, he would have won the gold. So he's 4 years older and wiser and better trained, so I will be curious to see him give Yuzu a run for his money there. It's going to be exciting. I think that piece is a bit short for all the stitches I want to do with it. Yeah. So I'm going to get a full-length piece. Not a lot in this section, but there's enough to justify starting a new piece. Here we go. There we are. I think this piece will be just enough to do these 3 in this little area here. That will work out. Wow. Okay, so as I said, I was going to work across this row so that I could do all those number 6, the pink stitches, in one group. So I don't always work row by row, but especially in areas that have a lot of colors, it just ends up working out that way. Bigger sections are less row by row and more working from that left corner out towards the right. Let the colors be my guide. Okay, so those colors, let's see what we have here. I think in fact, oops. a shorter piece that will work really nice, because the other stitches that are sort of over to the right and above it are more connected to stitches that are in the next diagonal, so I'm going to leave them that way. So doing this little sort of stair step shape around this, hugging this edge here. And then park it for the one stitch left to the right of it. Yes, that's why I used a shorter piece. Twisted going down, I think. Yeah. Untwist it. There we go. Not that anyone would have probably noticed but myself, but. So let me take a look at these ones. Okay, so the way this shape is going, I'm going to do this stitch, then these two, and then I'm going to park it over to the right. So sometimes the threads travel upwards, if that is what makes sense. With my method, as it's doing the left and corner most before stuff to the right. That is just the direction that makes sense to me, so that's what I'll do. Because yeah, if I instead did these two and then carried down here, I'd be left with having to cut it or carry it back up to park it, and that's just going to waste more thread. So look at that. You tied yourself in a little knot there at the end. Well, that's no fun. I'm going to cut that out. There. Ooh. Throw my needles away. Okay, so this one here. And then these two here. And then park it in the next diagonal. Works out nicely. Done. All right, and then again, I'm going to go back down to the left and work my way back over to the right as usual. All right, so I think that's going to call this session a day. And again, thank you so much for joining me, and we will see you next time. All right.